Have you ever walked into a room and just felt something shift? Maybe it wasn't anything obvious, no words exchanged, no grand gestures, just a feeling in the air, an unspoken energy that made your skin tingle or your heartbeat quicken. That, my friends, is the power of energy. And when a man is secretly attracted to you, his energy will tell you everything you need to know. Most people think attraction is about words, what someone says, how they flirt, or whether they come right out and admit their feelings. But the truth is, attraction starts long before words ever leave the lips. It's in the way a man carries himself around you. It's in the way he reacts to your presence, how his body unconsciously shifts, how his energy subtly yet undeniably changes the moment you enter his space. Think about this for a second. Have you ever noticed how people gravitate toward those they admire even without realizing it? It's a magnetic pull, a force beyond logic. A man who is secretly attracted to you may not verbalize his feelings, but his energy will give him away. You'll see it in the way his posture adjusts, how his shoulders square up just a little more, or how he suddenly seems more aware of himself in your presence. Maybe his voice deepens slightly, or his movements become more intentional. These aren't random changes. They're primal, instinctive reactions to attraction. Then there's the silent attention. You may not catch him staring directly at you all the time, but he's watching, not in a creepy way, but in a way that shows deep subconscious interest. His eyes follow you across the room. He notices when you laugh, when you shift your weight from one leg to another, when you tuck your hair behind your ear. He's tuned in, even when he tries to pretend he isn't. And when you lock eyes, that's when the energy exchange becomes undeniable. And let's talk about proximity. If a man is drawn to you, he will always find ways to be close, even if it's subtle. Have you ever been in a group setting and noticed that one person who always seems to end up near you? It's not an accident. He positions himself within your orbit. Whether it's standing beside you in a conversation, sitting next to you when options are wide open, or just lingering in your vicinity for no apparent reason. He may not say much, but he's there. His energy pulls him toward you like gravity, and most of the time, he doesn't even realize he's doing it. Now, let's take it one step deeper, the reaction test. Pay attention to how he responds when someone else enters your space, especially another man. If he suddenly stiffens, subtly squares up, or becomes more engaged in the conversation, sometimes even inserting himself where he previously stayed quiet. He's feeling the shift in energy. It's a subconscious territorial instinct, a need to make his presence known. He may not outwardly declare his feelings, but his reaction speaks volumes. And then there's the mirroring effect. This is one of the strongest subconscious indicators of attraction. A man who is secretly into you will unconsciously mimic your movements. If you lean in, he leans in. If you cross your arms, he crosses his. If you take a sip of your drink, a few moments later, he does the same. It's his body's way of syncing with yours, an unspoken connection that goes beyond words. This is not something he's actively thinking about, it just happens. Let's not forget about the way his energy shifts when he talks to you. If a man is secretly attracted to you, there's often an unmistakable aliveness in his demeanor when he engages with you. His tone may soften, or he may become more animated. He might fumble a little, not because he's unconfident, but because he's suddenly hyper-aware of how he's coming across. Some men go the opposite way. They try to play it cool, acting more nonchalant than usual, but the effort itself is a giveaway. If someone has to try to act indifferent, it usually means they care more than they're letting on. And let's talk about touch, or rather the almost touch. A man who is secretly attracted to you may find excuses for casual, fleeting touches, a pat on the back, a brush of the hand, adjusting something near you. But here's what's even more revealing, the hesitation. If he's drawn to you but holding back, you'll notice those small moments where he almost reaches out but stops himself. That's the internal conflict at play. The attraction is there, but something, his fear, his pride, his uncertainty, keeps him from fully acting on it. That hesitation, That's energy in action. And here's something powerful. His energy is most noticeable when he thinks no one is watching. When a man is secretly attracted to you, his body relaxes when you leave. Not because he doesn't want you around, but because he's been holding tension the entire time. You might notice a deep exhale, a roll of the shoulders, or even a subtle shake of the head as if he's mentally resetting himself. That's the weight of unspoken attraction. That's the energy trying to keep itself contained. And then there's the moment when he does speak, when he finally interacts with you. If a man is truly drawn to you, his words will have weight, even if they seem casual. He won't just give you generic responses. He will engage. He will remember details. He will listen. Even if he jokes around, there's intention behind his words. He may tease, challenge, or try to make you laugh, not just to be funny, but to create a connection. Attraction is never just about words. Words can be rehearsed. They can be carefully chosen, but energy is raw, it's real, it's felt, and when a man is secretly attracted to you, his energy will tell you the truth louder than any words ever could. Attraction isn't about a single moment. It's not just about one lingering glance or a fleeting interaction. It's about patterns. When a man is secretly attracted to you, his feelings will reveal themselves over time, not in one grand confession, but in small, repeated actions that speak louder than any words ever could. A man who is truly drawn to you doesn't just show up once and disappear. He doesn't engage with you intensely one day and then act indifferent the next. His attraction creates a rhythm, a consistency that might seem subtle at first, but becomes undeniable when you start paying attention. Think about this. When someone truly cares, they remember. They notice the little things. They don't just hear your words, they listen. Maybe you once mentioned your favorite coffee order in passing, and the next time you meet, he surprises you with it. Maybe you talked about a stressful project at work and days later he casually asks how it went. These aren't random acts. They're signs of someone who is mentally and emotionally invested. He's paying attention, even when you think he isn't. Consistency also shows up in the way he communicates. If a man is secretly attracted to you, you'll notice that he finds ways to talk to you again and again. It may not always be direct. Sometimes it's subtle, like responding to your stories on social media, sending a funny meme that reminds him of you, or making sure he interacts in group settings where you're present. He won't just disappear for weeks and then pop back in as if nothing happened. There's a flow to his engagement, a steady presence that tells you he values staying connected. And let's talk about physical presence. When a man is secretly drawn to you, he doesn't just happen to be around once. He continuously finds reasons to be near you. At work, he may position himself at meetings where you're present. At social gatherings, he might not always make a beeline toward you, but you'll notice he gravitates to your area. Even in a crowded space, he finds ways to be there, not necessarily in an obvious way, but in a way that lets you know his attraction is more than just a passing thought. Watch how he reacts to other people. If a man is consistent in his attraction, he doesn't suddenly treat you differently when others are around. A man who is playing games or unsure of his feelings may act one way in private and another in public. He might engage warmly in one setting and then pull back in another. But when someone is genuinely drawn to you, his energy stays the same. Whether you're alone or in a group, his behavior remains steady. He doesn't suddenly ignore you when new people enter the scene, and he doesn't downplay your connection to appear indifferent. His consistency is his truth. Now, let's get into the way he reacts to your emotions. A man who is secretly attracted to you won't just be present when things are easy and fun. He will also show up when you need support. Maybe it's checking in when he senses you're stressed, or maybe it's simply being there without being asked. If he consistently finds ways to support you, whether through words, actions, or just presence, That's not an accident. That's investment. And when a man is invested, his actions will reflect it over and over again. Patterns don't lie. One-time gestures can be misleading. A guy might flirt with you once out of boredom or momentary attraction. He might give you attention when it's convenient, but if he disappears after that, it means nothing. But when a man keeps showing up, not because he has to, but because he wants to, that's real. That's attraction that runs deeper than just the surface level. Look at how he makes an effort over time. If he's secretly attracted to you, you'll notice small things that remain consistent. He might always find a reason to initiate conversation, even if it's just something simple. He might regularly engage with your interests, remembering the little things you say. He might always be available when you need help, even if he never openly says why. These patterns aren't coincidences. They're proof that his feelings aren't fleeting. And here's another thing. Watch how he reacts when you're absent. A man who is consistently drawn to you notices when you're not around. Maybe he casually asks others about you. Maybe he seems less engaged when you're missing from a group setting. Maybe he even reaches out to check in, just to see what's going on with you. When someone truly values your presence, they don't just feel the attraction when you're standing in front of them, they feel it even when you're not there. The strongest sign of consistency is when a man continues to show interest even when there's nothing to gain. If a guy is only engaging with you when it benefits him, when he's bored, lonely, or wants attention, that's not real attraction. But when he continues to show up, even when there's no clear reward, that's when you know it's deeper. When you start to recognize these patterns, you'll see the truth of someone's feelings without them ever saying a word. Attraction isn't just about chemistry. It's not just about physical presence, stolen glances, or playful conversations. Those things are important, but what truly reveals whether a man is secretly attracted to you is emotional investment. When someone is emotionally invested, they don't just think about you in the moment, they think about you when you're not around. They care in ways that go beyond surface level interest, and whether they say it out loud or not, their actions will make it undeniable. The thing about emotional investment is that it doesn't come from a place of obligation. A man who is secretly drawn to you doesn't have to care about the details of your life, he just does. He doesn't need a reason to check in on you, to offer support, or to remember something you said weeks ago. These things happen naturally because he feels something deeper, even if he isn't fully ready to admit it. One of the biggest signs of emotional investment is concern for your well-being. This doesn't always show up in obvious ways, but it's there if you look closely. Maybe he casually asks if you got home safe after an event. Maybe he notices when you seem off, even when you try to hide it, and checks in with a simple "you okay?" Maybe he offers help without waiting for you to ask, whether it's carrying something heavy, giving advice, or stepping in when he sees you struggling. This isn't about playing hero. It's about an innate need to make sure you're okay, even when he doesn't benefit from it. And then there's protectiveness. A man who is emotionally invested will instinctively step in when he feels like you need support. Maybe it's as subtle as moving closer in a crowded space, as if to shield you from discomfort. Maybe it's noticing when someone is making you uneasy and subtly redirecting the situation. Maybe it's defending you in conversations, even when you're not around to hear it. When a man is drawn to you, he doesn't just admire you from a distance. He feels a quiet responsibility to look out for you. Another undeniable sign of emotional investment is remembering details that others overlook. A man who is secretly attracted to you won't just hear your words, he will absorb them. You might mention your favorite book in passing, and weeks later he surprises you by bringing it up. You might tell him about an upcoming challenge in your life, and instead of forgetting about it, he asks how it went. These moments seem small, but they're not. They are proof that he isn't just listening to be polite, he's listening because he genuinely cares. And let's talk about emotional availability. A man who is secretly drawn to you will make space for deeper conversations, even when they're not easy. He won't just keep things light and surface level all the time. He will open up about his own thoughts, his struggles, his dreams, maybe not all at once, but piece by piece. Emotional investment is a two-way street. When he feels something real, he will start to let you in. Then there's effort. Effort is one of the clearest signs of emotional investment, and it shows up in countless ways. If a man is secretly attracted to you, he will find reasons to be in your life, even if they're small. He'll make time, even when he's busy. He'll adjust his plans, even when he doesn't have to. He'll offer help, even when you haven't asked. This isn't about grand gestures. It's about the consistent, quiet effort that proves you are on his mind. And here's something important. Emotional investment isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the moments that seem almost invisible. It's the way he watches your reactions when you tell a story, as if he's trying to understand what makes you tick. It's the way he subtly supports your ideas in a group, making sure your voice is heard. It's the way he reacts when you're upset. Maybe he doesn't always have the right words, but he shows up. A man who is secretly attracted to you will also care about the things you care about. Maybe he starts remembering your favorite songs, or he takes an interest in a hobby you're passionate about. Maybe he starts paying attention to your favorite foods, or he subtly brings up topics you've talked about before. This isn't about changing who he is. It's about wanting to understand what makes you happy. And one of the biggest indicators of emotional investment, jealousy, but not in an aggressive way. If he's drawn to you, you'll notice a shift in his energy when other men are around. Maybe he suddenly becomes more engaged in the conversation, as if making his presence known. Maybe he asks subtle questions about your interactions with other people, not directly, but in a way that shows curiosity. He won't always say it outright, but his emotions will show up in the way he reacts. And then there's the way he reacts when you're not feeling your best. A man who is emotionally invested doesn't just enjoy you when you're happy and confident. He sticks around when you're tired, stressed, or unsure of yourself. He finds ways to lift you up, whether it's through encouragement, humor, or just quiet support. He doesn't need you to be perfect. He just needs you to know that he's there. Attraction without emotional investment is fleeting. It's fun, it's exciting, but it doesn't last. But when a man is secretly attracted to you and emotionally invested, you'll see it in the way he continuously shows up, even when there's nothing obvious in it for him. Words can be rehearsed. They can be carefully chosen, shaped, and manipulated to create an illusion. But actions tell the truth. A man who is secretly attracted to you may try to hide it, may attempt to downplay it, may even convince himself that he's keeping his emotions in check. But his actions will always betray him. Think about the people in your life. The ones who truly care about you don't just say they do, they show it. The ones who respect you don't just talk about respect, they demonstrate it in how they treat you. And attraction works the same way. A man who is drawn to you will reveal himself not through words, not through empty flattery, but through the things he does when he thinks no one is paying attention. One of the first ways you'll notice this is in how he prioritizes you. Attraction is not just about presence, it's about effort. A man who is secretly drawn to you will make time for you, even when it's not convenient. Maybe it's responding quickly to your messages, even when he's busy. Maybe it's adjusting his schedule just to fit in a few extra moments with you. Maybe it's remembering things you need and following up, not because you asked him to, but because he wants to. When someone truly values you, they don't find excuses, they find ways. And even if he never says the words, "I'm attracted to you," his actions will make it clear. And let's talk about body language, because this is one of the biggest giveaways of all. A man can try to suppress his feelings, but his body will always tell the truth. Look at how he positions himself when he's around you. Does he lean in slightly when you speak? Does he face you directly, even in group settings? Does he mirror your movements without realizing it? These are all unconscious signals that he's attuned to you. And then there's the small accidental touches. Maybe his hand brushes against yours just a second longer than necessary. Maybe he adjusts something near you, making sure he's close enough to feel your presence. Maybe he hesitates before making contact, as if his body wants to close the distance, but his mind is still catching up. These aren't coincidences. They are instinctive, subconscious movements. His attraction manifesting physically even when he's trying to hide it. A man who is secretly attracted to you will also go out of his way to be helpful. He won't just offer assistance when it's expected. He'll anticipate your needs before you even ask. Maybe it's carrying something heavy for you, offering advice on a problem you're facing, or stepping in when he senses you need support. This isn't about obligation. It's about an internal drive to be useful to you, to add value to your life, even in the smallest ways. And then there's protectiveness. A man who feels a deep attraction won't always express it through words, but you'll see it in how he reacts when he perceives a threat, whether physical, emotional, or social. Maybe it's the way he subtly positions himself between you and someone making you uncomfortable. Maybe it's how he defends you in conversations, even when you're not there to hear it. Maybe it's the way he steps in when he senses you need reassurance. He might not come right out and declare, "I like you," but his instincts will kick in every time, telling you everything you need to know. And here's something powerful. He remembers the details. Attraction isn't just about noticing someone. It's about being tuned into them. A man who is secretly attracted to you will remember things that most people overlook. Maybe you mentioned your favorite type of coffee weeks ago, and suddenly he surprises you with it. Maybe you casually talked about a stressful deadline, and later he follows up just to ask how it went. Maybe he picks up on your little habits, the way you fidget when you're nervous, or the songs you hum absent-mindedly. Why does he remember? Because you matter to him, whether he's ready to admit it or not. And let's talk about how he reacts when other men enter the picture. A man who has no feelings for you won't care if someone else is interested in you. He won't flinch if you talk about dating someone new. But a man who is secretly attracted to you, his reaction will tell you everything. Maybe he suddenly becomes more engaged in the conversation, as if subtly asserting his presence. Maybe he downplays the other guy, dismissing him in a casual but telling way. Maybe his whole demeanor shifts. He gets quieter, more serious, or even tries to act indifferent. But his body language betrays him. Jealousy isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the smallest shifts, the way he tenses slightly, the way his expression hardens for just a second, the way he suddenly seems distracted. He might not say a word, but his reaction speaks volumes. And then, as the way he looks at you, you can feel it. There's a difference between polite eye contact and the kind of gaze that lingers just a second too long, the kind that holds weight, the kind that feels like he's studying you, memorizing you, drinking you in without meaning to. He may not even realize he's doing it, but every time you catch his eyes lingering just a little longer than necessary, you'll know. Actions never lie. A man can try to suppress his feelings, can try to convince himself that he's just being friendly, that it's all in his head, but at the end of the day, what he does will always reveal the truth.